Welcome to Around the Valley. Today is September 11, 2012. We have special guest with us, Sharon Hall, Relay Manager for the Relay for Life, El Monte, Diamond Bar, San Gabriel, Cal Poly, Pomona College, and that's with the American Cancer Society. She'll be talking with us. We have Art Landing, Rosemead Kiwanis, and Lucia Flores from Baldwin Park Adult Education. I'm Sean Tellers from Mid-Valley News, and welcome to the show. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great.
What is going on?
Well, right now we're just kicked off our 2013 Relay for Life season, so this is really good because I'm really out in the community lately to really try to get new people involved with Relay for Life. I was actually doing a health fair over the weekend. I was really surprised how many people did not know that we actually have a relay here in El Monte. So it was a good chance for me to be out there and really kind of spread the word. I was really out there to spread the education piece of American Cancer Society, all the different programs that we offer. I had quite a few people that came by the table that had either had cancer survivors in their families. Some were battling depression after having cancer. It was just a good opportunity for me to network with the community, really the faith-based organizations, which I have been so, heavily wanting to get involved in. So it was a great opportunity. It was a good day.
I think that's nice. One of the things I've noticed, because I've been with Sharon at an event in San Gabriel and, here in El Monte and Mid-Valley News, we just happen to be at the same places, and everyone seems to know you.
I don't, it's so funny. I don't even remember half the places I am, and people remember me. I don't remember their names. It's like, I know you. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Well, it's a good sign. It's a good sign that you're getting out and about. Even Art, when he came in, Art recognized you.
Yes.
You guys had, you shared a pancake experience, right?
Yes. We had pancake breakfast at the El Monte Relay, and I'm like, okay, I knew we had the Kiwanis there, and I know also in the Diamond Bar Relay, I think they also had the Kiwanis. They step up a lot of times, especially when we need to feed our survivors. We usually provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the survivors. They're our guests of honor of Relay for Life. So we want to make sure that, we get community-based organizations involved. And it's an opportunity for people to come together at a relay, find out what's going on in their own community. It's not just American Cancer Society. We're just like the event that pulls it all together.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do.
I think we should talk about two things, because I think people don't really understand everything that happens within those two things. One is the American Cancer Society in general. What does that do versus other groups that might be similar? And number two, Relay for Life, because I think those are two entities that people either understand and have some kind of involvement with, or don't really have any understanding or involvement at all.
Right.
So do you want to talk first about the American Cancer Society? Well,
the American Cancer Society, which we're coming up on our 100th year, really, for some of the programs like American Cancer Society launch, is really, it's about education. Most importantly, it's about advocacy. We fight on Capitol Hill for a lot of initiatives. The last initiative that we fought so heavily for was to pass Proposition 29, which to raise the cigarette tax, and which did not pass. Another thing that we do is the education piece. We have other components within American Cancer Society that actually work with grassroots organizations, hospitals, really to get the word out to people that we're here to help them. We have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline for anyone who is either diagnosed with cancer, knows someone who has cancer, wants to call and ask, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't have medical insurance. Some of the advocacy efforts that American Cancer Society deals with basically works for people that may not have medical insurance when they're diagnosed with cancer. We have road to recovery. People get drive to the hospitals when they need medical attention. We have Look Good, Feel Good. Look Good, Feel Better for men, for teenagers, for women. There are so many, I can talk for days. There's so many programs that we have. We have groups that go out into some of the minority communities and to educate them on nutrition and all those different factors of how to prevent from having cancer. We do have a CPS 3 study, which we're trying to launch here in El Monte, which is basically what it is a study for people that don't have cancer, for us to run some tests on them to let them know maybe down the road you may have some kind of genes that eventually you may head in that direction. So it's for people that have never been diagnosed with cancer. So you're going to probably see a lot of that in this community lately, because I know I was glad that I met with a church, because I'm thinking about bringing it there. So what we're looking for is places where we have not been in the community, where we can actually put together programs so more and more people can know what American Cancer Society does. It's more than just fundraising. Yes, the fundraising dollars pay for a lot of our programs, of which a large percentage of them are free to people that are diagnosed with cancer.
Wow, that's a great explanation. Let's talk about Relay for Life.
Yes, Relay for Life is only one leg of the many different programs American Cancer Society does. We do have another one that people probably hear a lot about, since now we're coming up on Breast Cancer Month, is Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. And that's really a 4-hour walk to raise money specifically for breast cancer. But Relay for Life is a 24-hour walk. Everybody say relay, they're thinking of running. Am I running for 24 hours? A lady asked me yesterday. No, you're not running for 24 hours. Relay is almost like saying rallying to raise the awareness, educate people. Within that 24 hours is a chance, it's a celebration for us, because that's like the tail end of our fundraising efforts. We all come together after we raise those dollars to come together as a community and, thank each other, hug each other, get to know each other, have activities, and also walk to say, what are we going to do to fight cancer for the next 365 days of the year?
Yeah, and these are really good events, because I've gone to the Walk for Lupus. One of my friends does have lupus, and when you go to these events, it's just so wonderful, because like you said, it's a sense of community. Everyone gets together, there's music, there's food, family, and then you just walk around, and it's a really fun experience.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think what you mentioned, reaching out to people who haven't been involved before, I think that's so important, because until a year ago, I'd never heard of Relay for Life.
Really?
Yeah, when I started working here at Mid-Valley News and Mid-Valley Radio, we started talking about Relay for Life, and it was happening in El Monte, and people who had heard of it and had been there and experienced it were, it was like they're shining when they're talking about it, how important it was, and how,
yes,
and it really inspired me to say, okay, well, let me learn more about Relay for Life. I want to go to a Relay for Life, and since then, Temple City's had 2, San Gabriel's had 1. So I think it's great. And just recently, a recent Gabrielino High School graduate wrote about what a great community event it was, and how, obviously she wished more people would attend, but that's one of your struggles, right? It's not only are you planning for an event and all the production that goes into it, you're doing publicity, and fundraising, which is also known as development, is a completely art to itself. And then within the very hyper-local, community, you're dealing with a national organization. And I know sometimes that can be difficult. Art, what are you thinking?
Well, I was just looking here at some of the other upcoming events and whatever. They have a Liver Life Walk for liver cancer. It's coming up over in Santa Monica. There are other various groups that are doing things as well. We have another group that's going down to Long Beach for a walk here in October, that are not actually part of Relay for Life. Are they still all tied in with the American Cancer Society in some way, or are they independent?
They're all independent, because we have the Susan G. Komen Walk, which is a lot of the breast cancer walks happen in the month of October. You'll find the Revlon Walk. They're focusing on one area, whereas Relay for Life focuses on all cancers, which is it's a little bit different. That's why we do have a Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. And that focus is just for breast cancer patients, and you'll get a lot of the breast cancer, and their colors are pink, whereas Relay for Life colors are purple. So
one thing that has been brought up as an objection that I found out was not true at our local Relay for Life, and that is the idea that you're only interested in surgery and in drugs and in things that benefit doctors, but actually you do welcome alternative therapies as well if people want to come in.
Absolutely. There are so many different, when I was diagnosed with cancer, one of the things that I remember very clearly was that my doctor said to me, Sharon, we've made strides in this area of cancer, and there's so many different types of programs. I talked to a lady on Saturday that did not have radiation or chemotherapy when she went through her treatment. So there are so many different programs out there, so many different studies, so many trial methods methods of, getting cancer. Someone said they're doing transcendental meditation, which I've never would have thought to do, but I'm quite certain is like, it's like your mind can control a lot of things in your body. You'd be surprised. We succumb to the illness, like I told a lady on Saturday, is that I was diagnosed with cancer, but cancer didn't have me. So I believe that it's all in the mind and how your perspective on things. If I had crawled in the bed, closed the blinds and everything, and I probably would not have survived. But I decided I was going to live. I was going to get outside. I was going to talk about my treatment. In fact, I was able to help people even going through treatment when I was in the doctor's office. Some of the things that I was doing to make myself feel better. So, there's so many different things. Yes.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it's something I want to talk about if you're comfortable with that, your whole experience kind of from beginning to end. But first, let's take a break, and we'll come back with Sharon Hall from the American Cancer Society, and we'll continue the conversation.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Around the Valley. I'm Lucia Flores here along with Sean and Art and our special guest Sharon Hall from the American Cancer Society and Relay Manager for El Monte Diamond Bar in San Gabriel and Cal Poly Pomona.
Thanks for that introduction, Lucia. So let's talk about San Gabriel Valley events. We live in a very interesting place. A lot of us don't always take advantage of the different things we have. One of the things I've been meaning to do, and hopefully I will be talking about this in the past tense instead of the future tense at some point soon, is horseback riding in the Wash. There's a lot of places to go horseback riding around here. Avocado Heights is kind of a historic horse community, which is close to Industry, El Monte, but that's not what I did this past weekend. What I did this past weekend is I went to the drive-in in the city of Industry, which is close to the 605 in Valley, a little bit east of there. Art, have you ever been to that drive-in?
You're talking now about a drive-in theater? And the answer is no, I have not.
Okay. Have you ever been to a drive-in theater in the San Gabriel Valley?
Oh, absolutely. When I was a boy, we used to go to the one that was out on Huntington Drive in Duarte all the time. There was another one at Hastings Ranch at Foothill and Rosemead that we attended. And there's one that is now closed that is used for a swap meet that's down here on Valley south of the San Bernardino Freeway.
Yeah, I've seen that. The one on Rosemead or on Valley?
On Rosemead Boulevard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. I've been to that swap meet. I haven't been to the drive-in. And there's also one, what was it, Santa Anita and the one in Arcadia, kind of close to the racetrack, and now it's like an apartment complex. It used to have like a beautiful mural on it.
I don't know.
Oh, wow. Lucia, you ever been to a drive-in theater?
No, I've heard of like the one in the Vineland one, but I haven't been to that one.
Yeah, Vineland, that's the one I was at. It cost $9, double feature. The parking lot is kind of these mini...
the dips.
Yeah, these dips and pyramids, and you park, facing up, and you put your radio station on to the right thing and to listen to the movie. It was really fun, and like a throwback to the San Gabriel Valley of the past, because we do live in the suburbs that kind of flourish with car culture, and as someone commented recently on a Facebook photo I posted of that drive-in, is these drive-ins were based out of cars. It's one of the few industries that came out of cars, and other things like that, In and Out, which of course is in Baldwin Park and that kind of thing. What about you, Sharon? You ever been to a drive-in?
Absolutely. I was raised, in fact, I lived in the Los Angeles area, and that was the thing. I remember, it's like it was yesterday. My mom, it was 4 of us kids. My mom would get us all together, and a lot of times we didn't go to the snack bar, so she would make hamburgers, pop popcorn, and we would have all this in the car. And my family is the type of person, they all get there and they want to eat. As soon as we get there, everybody wants to eat, and then after everyone eats, everyone sleeps. So I would be the only one that would see the movie, and they would ask me what happened. I'm like, you should have been up to see the whole movie. But I truly, that was a fun time for us. It really was.
Yeah, well, you should definitely check out this drive-in.
Okay. One thing that was nice before you could eat, when you got there, if you got there early enough, they used to have playgrounds where the
I
kids
remember.
could all run down. We'd get on the jungle gyms. We'd get on the swings. We'd get ourselves good and tuckered out. Then we'd have something to eat. We'd go to sleep. The parents would watch the movie.
Wow, I never knew drive-ins had playgrounds.
Yes, I remember that. I really do.
Oh, that's really cool. So what else have people been doing around the San Gabriel Valley? Art, I know you're always doing lots of interesting things.
Well, I've been quite busy here in the last week because of various things that we've had to do for our Kiwanis Club, getting ready for the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast coming up November the 12th. We're doing the preparations for that. A lot of background work on various activities, and as you know, up on our website, we have the entire stretch of activities for the month of September posted now. It took literally 4 pages of material just to get them printed up, and I had to reduce the type of the print to get it all in. But we have the entire series of, I'm calling it now a Lyceum at the library, with all the different things that they're doing. They have activities for the kids, read-ins for teenagers, book reviews, arts and crafts, instruction on how to do crochet. They had a gentleman with a drum demonstration and so forth.
Yeah, you know, people forget about the libraries. We mention them all the time, and each city has its own. And, you know, but you could go to the other ones. You could go to Rosemead's. You could go to San Gabriel's. You go to Temple Cities, Baldwin Parks, Almonte's.
Right.
One of the things I know Rosemead is doing, I think this Saturday, that's really interesting, is the Forgotten Chinese History of Los Angeles.
Correct.
And I'm really excited about that because I can't remember her name, but they used a photo of a Chinese American actress that was really famous in like the 30s. Mm-hmm. And she always felt, you know, I don't know, put into a box that she couldn't get these roles. And there were actually laws, you know, about people from different backgrounds, you know, and so she had to go to Europe to make movies.
Well, those laws were passed during the administration of Chester Arthur when he was president. It's called the Chinese Exclusion Act, and you could not immigrate to the United States from China during that period of time. You come here from Japan, nobody cared. But China, they were afraid of just the sheer numbers. Remember, Napoleon once said, if you ever woke China, look out. He called them the sleeping giant. Even Napoleon was afraid of the sheer numbers of Chinese people that would overwhelm Western culture.
It's funny because, you know, we obviously have a lot of Asian Americans in the San Gabriel Valley, and people sometimes think this is something new. And when you look at the history of California, the fact that you had the Chinese Exclusion Act at all means that it's nothing new.
Well, the Chinese had come here because they did have talent, they did have ability. Japanese people don't have railroads, they don't have a whole lot of mines, things of this type. In China, they did. So who did they use for their miners? Because the people here didn't want to come here from Europe and be miners in the gold rush. They didn't want to build railroads. The Chinese came over here. They were used to taking risks in these things. They had the skills. They were used by the industrialists to build these things. But then after it was all built, the labor unions are the ones who got scared. Right. They said, wait a minute, now they're going to go out and they're going to take over all the jobs. And it was the labor unions in California during the 1800s that brought up the various laws. Well, we've got to exclude these people so that we can include our people.
Right, exactly.
And that's what the competition was. It wasn't even racial. It was fear of the job.
Right. But even when you, coming back to the San Gabriel Valley, I've seen some interesting photos of fruit packing plants.
Yes.
Because, you know, we had a lot of fruit packing plants at the turn of the century. And one of them in Pasadena had a big sign that said, no Chinese packers.
Well, it was illegal to do it.
To use Chinese packers?
Well, I don't say to use them, but to have Chinese people owning land, doing various things, various activities. Right. And in Pasadena, it was one of the schools that under the progressives of Hiram Johnson took advantage of a law that was passed. They actually segregated the Hispanics and the Caucasians in the school system. It was also done down in
I remember that. That was 1920 or something?
Yeah, like 1922. My mother was in school, and all of a sudden, her brown friends just disappeared. Where are they? Well, they were down the street. They've got their own school down there.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like to do is if you go to the local historical museums of your cities, they have a lot of old photos. And if you see the photos in the schools before the 1920s, it's a very interesting mix, and it could almost be mistaken for now because it's so diverse. Right. You have Chinese, Japanese, Hispanic, you know, Anglo. And it really does look like just now, you know, like somebody made a fake black and white photo. But then as soon as you go to 20s, 30s, 40s, it gets segregated. And segregation is not something we think about in California.
1947, a court here in California said that the Mexican-American segregation was illegal and they had to stop it. But up till 1947, on an elective basis, the school districts could, and many did, segregate.
Right. And it's something that's important for people to learn, because then you can understand why things are the way they are now, you know. But we're getting a little bit off topic. Let's go back to fun things. Who did some fun things? Lucia, did you do anything interesting lately?
No, just swim in the pool. I'm learning to swim, actually. I know a bunch of the cities, if you check out their official websites, they sometimes offer swimming classes. I know it's after the summer, but I was going to check out to see if they still have some, because I've never learned how to swim, but till recently I'm starting to learn, like barely, so taking baby steps.
All right. I'm going to tell Sean I wasn't going to do this, but since he wants something personal, for the first time in my lifetime, and I'm 70-some years old now, we got every relative that we could together in one place at one time. Wow. And the reason was to celebrate my mother's 100th birthday, which is in September of this year. So she had her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and one great-great-grandchild.
Wow.
All in the same room, in the same place, at the same time. And we had a big party up at Coco's in Arcadia. And there's going to be some other things happening for her on her actual birthday, which, because she listens to this program, I will not tell about here, but we have a little bit more in the future. But here you have a lady, 100 years old, still active and vigorous. She was on the Kiwanis float in January the 2nd of this year, and runs the apartment house that we own, takes care of the books and the tenants and all the problems. We let her run it, and is still active at age 100. I think that's a pretty remarkable story.
I think so. Happy birthday, Arts Mom.
Yeah, happy birthday.
And you know, she's San Gabriel Valley native, or a long history in the San Gabriel Valley.
Born in Pasadena in 1912, as I was in 1942, and her parents and her grandparents were residents. They weren't born here, but they were. So actually, we consider ourselves to be fourth generation, and now with all the descendants, 6 generations of Californians.
Wow, that's a great story. You know, when you brought up the pools, it reminded me, I don't know if you've heard this in the news, but El Monte Pool has been in the news.
Oh, yes, I have.
Do you want to tell about that, Lucia?
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure some of you are familiar with the Oppa Gangnam Style. It's a new dance craze. You can look it up on YouTube. It has like about 130 million views or something like that. And I know a few lifeguards at the Aquatic Center had filmed a parody of that, and they put it up on YouTube. And I believe the city found out, and they got in trouble. So I believe, they got fired. Actually, I think 14 lifeguards. Yeah. And so now they're trying. I know there's a petition that you can sign or something so they can try and get their jobs back. But.
Yeah, and the story's been picked up by Yahoo, by Huffington Post, by a lot of different people. And you know, I kind of understand where the city's coming from, because it is city property, and you know, But I also understand where the lifeguards are coming from. You know, like, they're just young kids making a fun video, and the lifeguards are saying, hey, you could have, you know, punished us in other ways. You didn't have to fire us.
Exactly. Punishment fit the crime.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did was wrong, but it's just not a capital offense.
Right.
Why put a black mark on your job record for the rest of your life? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Exactly. And on top of that, the video is really fun. There are some parts that are a little sexy, but all in all, I watched that video and said, "Wow, El Monte has a beautiful aquatic center. I never knew."
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I've always seen it from the outside, but never from the inside. You know, and yeah.
Same thing. It really is kind of like a promotional piece for that aquatic center. Not every city has an aquatic center, I'll tell you that.
Rosemead does.
Rosemead does. Yeah. What else do we have going on? Anyone got some other interesting San Gabriel Valley news or topics? Eaten at any interesting places? I saw a very interesting taco place called Rambo's Tacos. This is on Valley, kind of close to the Vineland Drive-In. And I guess the guy back in the day, his friends used to call him Rambo. They thought he looked like Rambo. So now he has all these pictures of Rambo, the action star, eating tacos. And it's hilarious because he's got the helicopters behind him. He's got a plate of tacos in his hand. You know, he's got a horchata in his other hand. It's not something you probably won't see outside the San Gabriel Valley.
Wow.
Well, one thing that I found out about, there is a nationwide chain of restaurants that gives McDonald's a lot of competition. It's called Sonic. Mm-hmm. But up until recently, we've only had one Sonic in Southern California, down in Anaheim. We now have a second one in Monrovia.
Yeah, it's funny, because for a long time, if you watch cable TV, you'd see commercials for Sonic, but you could never go. So I remember when the first one opened in Arcadia, my friends were really excited about
They
it.
had one in Arcadia, too? I didn't know that.
Yeah, or around there. You know, another thing that reminds me of is Norms. Norms is really kind of pushing, they're building a lot of Norms, and the reason I bring it up is because they're the classic kind of diner style that reminds me of, you know, a 1950s San Gabriel Valley that actually has pretty much gone out of business, so it's interesting that they're pushing some more. But,
well, the one in San Gabriel, they gave them a price they couldn't refuse on the huge tract of land that they owned, so they closed that one down and reopened out in Covina. Same staff, same basic people.
Yeah, that's a whole other story, businesses in San Gabriel. I keep meaning to write an article about San Gabriel businesses because they have a retention plan instead of a growth plan. You know, they're doing as hard as they can to hold on, but a lot of businesses are going to Alhambra and Covina and other places. All right, well, let's take one more break, and we'll come back with Sharon, and we'll discuss her personal story, and we'll take it from there.
This is a poem called Mother Duck by Eugene R. Webb. Mother Duck took her 7 babies for a swim. So in the pool is where the mayhem did begin. Mother and babies swam around and all about. Everything was just fine until they wanted out. Then, of course, the mother could jump up high. But the little babies could do was try and cry. The mother went to show the babies another spot. They'd follow, she'd get out, and then they'd jump a lot. So finally, back into the pool the mother would go. Babies couldn't get out for the water was too low. The whole situation on us all became a strain, so afraid the babies would be sucked into the drain. For the mother duck got scared and flew away. She didn't come back until the light of day. My daughter Gail put a towel on deck into the pool. Seeing those babies walk up that towel was really cool. Watching the mother jump in and out of the pool and seeing the 7 babies jumping was so cruel. In fact, we felt so helpless. It was a sad sight to see. But finally we saw them walk away as a happy family. Just wanted to share you about the mother duck. Thank you.
Hey.
We're back on KMVR with Sharon Hall of the American Cancer Society, coordinator of a number of the sites for the Relay for Life in the San Gabriel Valley, including El Monte, Diamond Bar, San Gabriel, and the Cal Poly Pomona College. And Sharon, I understand you've had quite a story with cancer yourself.
Yes, I have. I was diagnosed with cancer in October of 2010, breast cancer.
Ooh, that's recent.
Yes. Recently finished radiation as of November of last year. So I just finished my treatment, not quite a year yet.
And you're completely in remission?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Wow. Do you mind walking us through that experience, kind of emotionally, and also how it ties to the American Cancer Society?
Yeah, it was one of those things. I mean, they tell women to get their annual breast exam, but I was not diagnosed because of something I found from a mammogram. It was actually doing my own breast self exam that I found the lump, and it was a couple of months before I actually went to a doctor, and I finally went to a doctor. And they said, well, we can't do this with our normal equipment, so we need to send you to the hospital and, of course, do the more invasive, looking like the sonogram. So we did they found there was a lump. And I remember the radiologist, the first thing he said to me, did someone hit you? Because the lump was on the outside of the skin. It wasn't on the inside. And so basically, the first doctor that I had spoken to said, okay, I'm thinking it was only a cyst. Okay, we're going to remove it. And it was surgery was done on a Friday. I went back Monday for the pathology report. And my doctor walked in the office, and his head was down because him and I had just had a conversation. Oh, Sharon, this is just probably just a cyst. We'll remove it. And he walked in with his head down and said, we did get the pathology report, and it's cancerous. And it was like it was so surreal. It's like, I remember sitting there. My mom was with me. I just remember sitting there. I was looking at the wall. I remember he has a picture on the wall, and I just kept focusing on that picture, and I just couldn't believe it. He handed me a pamphlet. He said, you probably don't have a lot of questions right now, but you probably will have some questions later. And my mom was really upset with me and didn't find this out till later, that I didn't have 1,000 questions to ask the doctor at that moment. I was sitting there just trying to grasp, and the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word cancer is that it's a death sentence. You automatically think you're going to die. And you don't even think about all the different treatments that are available to you because your mind is not really focused on that. I remember getting in the car and I was just totally numb. I remember I would, normally I pick up my daughter in the afternoon, so I called my son and asked him if he can pick her up. And so I remember talking to her on the phone, and I told her, I said, it was hard for me to get the words out of my mouth. I have cancer. And it really did not hit home. I didn't feel sick. There was nothing about me that felt sick other than I knew they removed the lump. And it's only when I had my first round of chemo that I realized that I had cancer, because you go through the symptoms. You go through the symptoms of what the chemo does to you. I mean, the nauseous and, the vomiting and all that stuff. And I swore then, the first episode that I had, I remember when you go through, they do a before you get ready to start chemo, you sit down with your nurse and they talk about all the things that the symptoms you may have and how to prevent some of those symptoms by drinking water and all those things. And I remember that. And what happened was, I remember after my first round of chemo, I'm like, I can do this. I felt great. I went home. I had a big lunch, and it didn't hit me till later on the next day. And then I was kind of bedridden for a while. But I was determined from that point to actually fight the cancer. After having that one bout of nausea that I had to visit the bathroom, I'm like, that's it. No more. I'm going to take my anti-nausea pills before I get sick. And it was something that I said, okay, I'm going to conquer this. And I was determined. My family was kind of disappointed that, I still walk my dog twice a day. I got out and I walked him. In fact, he was I call him my little caregiver, because he stayed on the bed with me the whole time. And I'm in a fetal position, but when I got up, he knew once I hit the floor, it was time to walk. And I would get out and walk, and my neighbors would be watching, Sharon, are you okay? But I was determined that I was going to beat this. It was a private fight that I was having at the time. It was like, I just visually, people saw me. My family didn't understand why did I continue school at the time? Why did I continue to try to work at the time? But I felt it was something that I had to do. I didn't want to stay at home. It was something that I didn't want to do. My sister said, now you don't really need to work. You just need to stay home. But I'm like, why will I stay home? But just getting out. And one thing I was sharing with a young lady over Saturday at the health fair was that I got a chance to see during the time I was actually walking my dog early in the morning, things that you don't notice because you're in a rush all the time. I started seeing flowers and trees and things as I'm walking, because, here you going through this battle. It's a 50-50 chance you're going to make it. And it's like, so you start noticing things that you don't notice before. And I start, even passing buildings, like, how long has that building been there? It's like, things that you're driving a car, you don't really notice. So I took the time, as the old saying is, take the time to smell the roses. I took that time early in the morning, 6 a.m. when I'm walking the dog, looking at all the trees, and a lot of them birds had brought and dropped seeds, and in the park where I was at, and I just took time to look at life and admire my dog and look at how they depend on you so much, and they don't take sides, they don't get angry and things like that. And I'm like, there's a lot to learn in just watching animals and watching nature. So it was really an opportunity for me. I said, everything happens for a reason. And I look at my battle, and none of my siblings, nobody in my immediate family has cancer, but I had some distant cousins. At the same time, I had breast cancer, which I did have an advanced stage of cancer, which is called inflammatory breast cancer. That's why the lump was on the outside, and it was very painful. It was growing by the day. That I didn't know. I mean, my sister's hairdresser got diagnosed about a year after I was, and she didn't make it. She didn't even make it through the first treatment of cancer. And she passed away. So I figure I'm here for a reason. And so I take that opportunity every chance that I get to tell people about my experience, what I did, how did I battle it, what did I eat, what made me feel better. You know, and I'm a type of person, I'm one of those strange girls. I don't like shopping for clothes, but I love going to Home Depot. I love going to Home Depot. I will go to Home Depot. It's like a clothing store for me to walk in and walk down all the aisles of Home Depot, because I think about, you know, things I could do, fix and put together. That's therapy for me. So I did all the things that I felt that was therapy, like going to IKEA, not buying anything, but just looking at everything. People, my kids think I'm crazy, but those are the kind of things that I did. And I continued in school. I'm actually working on my doctorate degree right now. And that was my first year. I had just started the doctoral program in January when I was diagnosed that same year, but I kept going because they say, you know, some of the side effects to chemotherapy is you get brain fog. I'm like, what is brain fog? I never had a chance to even think about having brain fog because I'm always writing papers, I'm always reading, and so I didn't have time to think about some of those symptoms that maybe some of the other women were having when I went into the support group, and we go around the room and everybody's like, okay, woe is me. I said, this is not the support group I'm looking for. I went to 2 sessions of a support group in Pasadena and I didn't go back, because I wasn't looking for a support group where we're going to have, oh, woe is me, hold our hands and feel sorry for each other. I was looking for education. That's why I went to City of Hope and I gathered every pamphlet I possibly could on cancer, before, after, what am I going to feel like. I didn't know what chemotherapy was. I went online and Googled it, saw YouTube. I said, okay, I want to know what's going to happen to me, you know, how they're going to administer these drugs in my body, so I'll know what to expect. So that was, having that information was power for me.
So let's tie that into the American Cancer Society. How
Yes.
did that connect?
It's so funny. I was in between jobs when I was diagnosed with cancer, and I remember vaguely when I was working for Coca-Cola, a young lady came into the office and she wanted us to get involved with Relay for Life. And I still have the purple bear that she gave me back then. She gave me a little mug and a purple bear. So when I was sitting there, I was looking for work, and I saw Relay for Life were looking for community people that have worked with volunteers, and I had experience working with volunteers. They had 2 positions available. They were looking for someone to work with the schools, and they wanted someone to work with community-based organizations. So when I actually filled out the application, not thinking they were going to call me or anything, and I wasn't really, at the time, I wasn't even correlating, I've got cancer, American Cancer Society. I just saw Relay for Life. Yeah. And I'm like, I know what they do. Mm-hmm. So when I called them, you know, about the job and sent them my resume and all, they called me back and they wanted to interview me because they, you know, saw my experience. And so when I walked in, I kind of shared with them, that was one of the questions about one of your major struggles that you've had in your life. And I had to I shared my, knowing people don't share something personal like that, my cancer story of getting through that. That was probably the biggest, out of all the things that that happen in your life. And one thing about it, I've never been majorly sick. The biggest thing that's ever happened to me, I broke my leg. And that was when I was in the 6th grade. So haven't been sick at all, and really didn't think I was sick. You know, and they make you sick by putting the poisons in your system, then you get sick. But I still never felt sick at all. So, and kind of sharing that experience, and then I just shared recently with my mom, because a lot of the other Relay managers, none of them have battled cancer. And so coming from that perspective, in an organization as their fight is to find a cure for cancer, and actually being a survivor, it's a whole different experience. Because as I shared my story with some of my volunteers, which I don't normally share my personal story, is that I tell them that I was not working at the time I was diagnosed. And what bigger thing could possibly happen is like, what are you going to do now that you've been diagnosed with cancer? How are you going to pay for this? You're not working. You don't have no medical insurance. And I told them all the advocacy efforts that American Cancer Society does. One of them is really to fight for people that don't have medical insurance, to make sure there's programs available for them to receive treatment. And I told them, so all those dollars and dimes that you put in, the fundraising doesn't all go to the research. It goes to sponsor some of these programs, of which one of them was what I took advantage of. And it started with a program called Every Woman Counts, where I was able to get my mammogram done. Mm-hmm. And a pap smear, and also paid for the cervical breast cancer program that I took advantage of, this paying for my care till I'm age 65. So it's like some of those things, and I actually had a chance to share that with someone on Saturday, and it's all through the Medi-Cal program, and you have to go through that for it to connect with something else. But I said, I felt bad taking advantage. That's one thing you don't like, free care. It's like, you've always had medical insurance, and now you have free care. But I'm saying, why not? And I had to reason with myself. Why not? You've been a taxpayer all these years. You've been paying into taxes. Now you really need this. You need this for survival. Otherwise, you're going to die. You will die, because I told you I had inflammatory breast cancer, which was an advanced stage of cancer that was going to go. By the time I had my MRI, it already spread to one lymph node. It hadn't gone no further than one, which was a blessing, because I waited a couple of months before I went to the doctor because I did not have medical insurance.
Jeez. Yeah, I think it's great that, a few things I wanted to say. Number one, your story's amazing. Thank you for sharing it. Number two, I think it's great that you focused on education, kind of solving a solution, learning as much as you can for yourself to make informed decisions. Number three, you're doing the right thing of, using organizations that are there, and then you can explain that to other people. Look, there are resources you don't know about. Mm-hmm. You never know what you don't know, and that's a big part of what we try to do with our show, is educate people, because we're learning as well, things that you might have access to, you just don't even know exist. And then lastly, I think everyone needs to customize what's right for them, right? Some people do want a supportive group that's holding hands. Some people don't. You know what I mean? So you have to find what's right for you and understand yourself. And let's take one more break, and we'll come back and talk about the 5 or 4 individual events you manage.
Yes.
Is it 5 or is it 4?
4.
4 events that you manage, and we will end the show with some current events.
You and your family are connected by routine, and you stick to it. But what if a disaster strikes without warning? What if your day's routine is disrupted and you can't reach your family? Have you planned for that? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, be ready. Get a kit. Make a plan. Be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Around the Valley. This is our 4th and final part. Today is September 11th, 2012. We have Sharon Hall, the Relay for Life manager for El Monte, Diamond Bar, San Gabriel, and Cal Poly Pomona, and she's with the American Cancer Society, and we're very happy you're joining us. Let's talk about these different events. Relay for Life, for people who might be just tuning in, is how would you describe it very briefly?
Relay for Life is a 24-hour walk it is a fundraiser. Don't want to deny that. It is a fundraiser, but it's also an education piece and a relation building piece, because it brings the community together to support a cause, because somehow cancer has touched a lot of people's lives, and it's a chance for people not only to give back, it's a chance for even cancer people actually going through cancer treatment to come to a venue to see people that have survived cancer. It kind of gives them something to look forward to, that it can happen for them. Just giving a good example, at our San Gabriel Relay recently, there was a young man who hadn't started his chemotherapy yet, but he was diagnosed. He had some form of neck cancer. He was there. And basically, he was kind of looking down, and when they asked for all the cancer survivors to come forth, they asked him to come forth too, even though he hadn't gone through chemotherapy. And he also did the first walk with us. And it was a support building system for him to let him know that we were rallying for him, especially those of us that have gone through treatment, that all he had to do is continue to don't lose faith with the whole program that he was going to go through, that, he was going to survive it. If he kept on his mind that he was going to survive, he will become a survivor.
That's great. Well, so let's talk about the different events. Yes. What are the similarities, the differences, El Monte, Diamond Bar, San Gabriel, and Cal Poly Pomona?
The only difference, those are the El Monte, the Diamond Bar, and San Gabriel are what we call community events. And that means the volunteers actually come from the community in which the events are being held. They're a little bit different flavor from a college event. Usually college students sponsor those events. And usually we have a Colleges Against Cancer Club on campus that actually puts on the Relay for Life. The student events are a little bit different. They're a little bit crazy. The students do a lot of different things. Music is like in community events after 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it gets very quiet because most of the community, they do go to sleep. Even though we're camping out, everyone goes to sleep. But if you go to a college event, it's crazy all night long. Those kids party all night. I mean, they find something to do. And during the wee hours of the morning when you're trying to sleep, they're up walking, they're either watching a movie or they're dancing, they're doing something. It's a whole different flavor. Is you think about, and we also have high school events too as well. So you imagine a student putting on a relay. I mean, they have crazy things going on. We had a dunk tank at the last one. They had hot dog eating contests. They had different theme walks or backwards walking. They had all kinds of things going on at the time. So there's a lot of activity going on at one time. So you have a lot of energy at a college event compared to a community. It's kind of laid back. People come to a community event. Think of a community event as a family reunion. People coming together, haven't seen each other in a while, hugging each other, we're eating, picnicking out. So it's a little bit different.
And you don't have to be from that city to be involved in that city's relay.
Absolutely not. People cross over cities when they're getting involved. A lot of times I even have committee members that are from other cities that are sitting on the committee for a certain city. So it depends on what you feel. Sometimes people have relatives that live in that city. Some people work in that community and they decide to be on the committee, and that's how they do it.
So what is the best way for people to get involved?
The best way for people to get involved is to go to the relayforlife.org website. It's www.relayforlife.org/California, and you can see all the events. You can plug in a city if you want to find out about any event that's happening in California. You can find out where they all are. It's a chance to find out what's going on, to keep in tune.
And then this list of the relays you manage, which is the next one coming up?
The most recent one, Cal Poly, will be the first one because the students get out of school before June. So last year that relay was in April. This year again it will be in April. So that would be my first event that I'll be putting on. And then the next, in fact, I talked to someone last night that wanted to put San Gabriel in the month of March, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to put it in March. We just got over in August. So I know we did it in August, which normally is not a time that I would want to have a relay, but unfortunately we were trying to build a committee at that time, so it kind of pushed back. The event was supposed to take place in June. So this year I'm either looking for either May or June to be a good month to do the relay. So the most recent one will be Cal Poly.
That's great. Well, we'll put your contact information online if that's okay, if someone wants to email you.
That's quite all right.
Great. Well, let's change corners a little bit and go to upcoming events. Art?
Well, September and October is definitely going to be Fair Month in the city of Rosemead. We're starting out with a double header on the 21st because something you may be interested in a minute I'll talk to you about. But we have the job fair with career partners in the Employment Development Department, where we're bringing in employers and other various individuals to help with resume writing, job applications, all that sort of thing. And then the same evening, you're going to have the Crosstown Football Classic, San Gabriel High School, your favorite, versus Rosemead. And they're going to be knocking themselves out and hopefully not doing anything permanent damage. But the two football teams will go at it in the event that Consolidated Disposal and others have been sponsoring. That same weekend, our key clubbers are going to be helping with the cancer organizations with their Liver Life Walk over in Santa Monica. But then we get back into the fairs. We're going to be having an art fair that is going to be held over at the Savannah Cemetery. At the Moose Lodge next to the Savannah Cemetery. And the Guadalupe Pregnancy Center is going to be having their fiesta at the Rosemead Park just up the street from it, two events on the same day. So that is something to definitely be looked at. And you mentioned the forgotten history of the Chinese culture. That is going to be on September the 15th. Coming up after that, we also have a college enrollment fair at Don Bosco on the 25th. And then on October the 28th is going to be the big health fair that is put on by the city of Rosemead and a local Chinese foundation that likes me not to use their name publicly. They want to be modest and say this is the community health fair, so I'm going to do it. But that's going to be at the Garvey Educational Center, or Garvey Community Center, at on the 28th on Sunday morning.
That's
so
great.
We've got a lot of fairs, a lot of activities, plus the things we mentioned earlier at the library.
I think Rosemead does such a good job of working with the community and creating events, but then Art does a good job of collecting those and distributing to us, so thank you for that, Art. Lucy, do you have any events you wanted to share?
Okay, well, I was going to mention in Baldwin Park, they're going to be having a free multi-day workshop learning how to use their new fitness zone, which is located at Morgan Park. The address is 4100 Baldwin Park Boulevard in the city of Baldwin Park. These workshops will be taking place beginning this Saturday, September 15th, then Saturday, September 29th, and Saturday, October 13th. They'll be held from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. There's no registration necessary. And they'll just be teaching the community members how to use their new fitness center. And this is a really good thing for anyone who, just wants to stay active, and how we're talking about health and the relay, kind of ties into that a bit. There's also in Baldwin Park, there's a gallery called the Arc. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's in it's close to where the train station is. It's on Pacific Avenue. Let me give you the address. It's actually the Arts and Recreation Center. It's on 14403B East Pacific Avenue. The gallery hours are Monday through Thursday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. On Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Friday and Sunday they're closed, but they are having an exhibit from an artist named Tetsuro Tanabe. The exhibit is going to be taking place now until September 22nd. And it's a really cool thing because if you look up his official website, there's just different artwork, and it's the theme is cosmos, so it's kind of like space type art. And let me see what else. And also, if anyone attended any of the Baldwin Park summer concerts in the park, on the official city website, baldwinpark.com, they are having a survey just to see if you liked the concert, how it was, and if you fill out this survey, you're entered in a contest to win a gift basket.
I think that's really responsible of the city to do a survey like that, because, so often cities don't provide a service, and then when they do, they don't want to hear if you liked it or not, because they should just be happy we gave it to you. So that's Baldwin Park. They're actually been nominated for one of the most business-friendly cities in all of all of Southern California, I think, actually, or LA County. Duarte and Baldwin Park have been nominated in their categories. Two things I wanted to mention. One is Dia de los Muertos is coming up, and El Monte has a big celebration with that, and the New Vein Foundation's a part of it, and that's going to be really cool. I remember last year I was driving around dropping something off at actually a church in El Monte. I was working for a nonprofit, and long story short, I saw an Aztec dancer walking around just someone's backyard, and it just looked so cool, and that's part of the Dia de los Muertos, and the second thing I wanted to mention was the 626 Night Market is going to be headed to the Santa Anita Park, which is a Santa Anita racetrack. And that's a very interesting event that we've been following since its inception. That's kind of a night festival and food market that started in one section of Pasadena, then it went to City Hall, and now it's moving to the park, and that's going to be happening in October.
I think they changed it to 2 days now. They extended it.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 days, and if you're interested in that, Google that and find out, 'cause it's going to be great. Well, is that it, you guys? Are we done? Sharon, did you want to add anything?
No, this is great opportunity. I just want to tell people that our 2013 season has just begun. A lot of the websites are now up. We're looking for volunteers, especially in the city of El Monte. I'm looking for volunteers. We're looking at this year possibly having 2 relays in this city, South El Monte and El Monte. So I'm looking for volunteers to be on the planning committee so they can get in contact with me. I'm going to give you my email address. It is Sharon, that's SHARON .Hall, HALL, at cancer.org.
Great. You guys just want to sign yourselves off?
Thank you very much, Sean. All of the information about all the activities that we have talked about today are on the Rosemead Kiwanis website, rosemeadkiwanis.org, and you'll have details of every event we've talked about and about 20 others besides. Please feel free to go and look at them. And until next week, this is Art Landing for Rosemead Kiwanis and KMVR.
Okay, and this is Lucia Flores. If you want to listen to any Spanish rock or anything, you can check out my show here on Mid-Valley Radio, Rock and Rollas. And also, if you're interested in adult education, you can check out the El Monte Rosemead Adult School website, and there's more information on the different classes there.
Thanks, guys. It's a very interesting show, very interesting people. I'm Sean Tellis from Mid-Valley News and Mid-Valley Radio, and you've been listening to Around the Valley on Mid-Valley Radio, where content is king.